Welcome to the Speaking Podcast. You can find all our episodes on speakingpodcast.com. My guest today, he's back. He was on my meditation podcast. We had a fantastic conversation. He's a best-selling author. And if you're watching on YouTube, BitChute or YouTube, you'll actually see a load of his books behind, all beautifully coloured. He's sold 500,000 and that were translated into 16 languages, which is very impressive. He's an entrepreneur, motivational speaker. He's based in Japan, Tokyo. He's got Allan Publishing, so please welcome Scott Allan.
It's great to be here, and thanks for having me on the show again.
No problem at all. No problem at all. So, different show, different thing. We have to let people know who's Scott and his journey.
Sure thing. Yes, my name's Scott Allan. I'm an author, and I have been publishing books for about, let's say, around 12 years or so. And yes, we have about 35 to 40 titles out there, and depending on what your flavor is or what you want to learn, I might have something that you're looking for. So, but having said that, it's just been an amazing journey, I think, in the 50 plus years I've been here on Earth. And I've been in Japan for about 25 years, originally from Canada. And I love my work. I've been doing this for quite a while, and got a lot of things going on, got a lot of plans for the future, and for the most part, I'm here to help people with their lifestyle mastery, or teach them a way to design the lifestyle of their choice.
Well, let's delve into that, because I don't want to kind of go in, we talked a lot on the books and stuff like that, but I want to kind of delve into your content. So kind of, I suppose, reinventing your life. Because you're covering that. So you might, when somebody's kind of lost, what's the best way to reinvent themselves?
Well, I think, first of all, it's okay to be lost. I think that we do have to get lost in the dark sometimes before we find our way out, So the important thing is you keep looking for the door, right? So not the
Or the light switch.
Philosophical, but yes, the light switch, yeah, if there is one. Yeah, but I think I've reinvented my wheel a few times, we can look at that several ways, reinventing your life. That could mean changing your location, moving to a new place, changing jobs, changing your profession altogether. Or one of my favorites is actually changing your mind, or in other words, a mindset reinvention, which I think when it comes to the mindset, it's never something that you're really finished with, right? We should always be working on ourselves and working on self-growth, personal development, and self-help. But I think those terms get a little lost because it's really hard to track your progress when you're working on yourself, because it's really just, it's like a project that never ends, right? So that's why I think it's good to have goals in place. And they don't have to be, productivity goals per se, but you do have to have goals that you're shooting for, whether, if you're in fitness, you should have fitness goals. And, if you're into spirituality, which, most people are, whether you're, into, Buddhism, or you're praying to God, whatever it may be, you should have, goals for, like your spiritual well-being. You can have goals for pretty much everything in life. And I think a lot of we get lost because we don't have those goals laid out in front of us, right? And so I think one of the first things I'd recommend to people is, just take an assessment of where you're at in your life right now. And one of the best ways to do that is to sit down with a pen and paper and just start writing words down in a journal or a notebook or whatever it is, and just show up every day and just do a few pages like that, and you'll get really clear on what it is that you really want. I don't think you have to do, like the deep soul searching and find out who you are. I think we all know who we are. Sure, there are very deep levels to us as human beings, but you don't have to go out and find your purpose. Like, you have a purpose already, and now you just have to figure out how to, create something that is, create a life that is just like so extravagant, so great, something that is truly you. And for me, like, that goes way back. I think I'm just going to go back a few decades, like before I lived in Japan. I was actually going through a period of transition, or we'll call it healing, where what was I doing at the time? Yeah, I was going through addiction recovery, actually. And the reason that I gotten into it in the first place is because I wanted to, stop drinking as much and actually stop drinking at all. And so once I went through addiction recovery and got my head clear, then I started to, you know, work on, the goals that were really meaningful to me. And what happened is that when I was going through this phase of my development, there are a few things that cropped up. One is that I wanted to become a best-selling author. Two is I wanted to travel the world. And the third thing is I just wanted to become a better human being. And the third thing I realized was probably just going to be an ongoing, process. So I decided to take action on the second thing. And the transformation for me really began with, making a decision that I wanted to live a great life, or live a greater life than I already had. And I had a pretty good life, I think. But I mean, and a lot of people do, and maybe you're satisfied with where you are. But the question I want people to challenge themselves with is that you may be satisfied, but are you fulfilled? Like, are you deeply fulfilled? Because I think there's always room for improvement, and that's where the, getting into, maximizing your human potential. I mean, that really is limitless. But if you look at it that way, your journey in this life, it's very short. So the question is, how far can you go before it ends? And that's usually the question that I'm always asking myself every day, like, how far can I get before it ends? Because when it does end and, I get to meet the maker or whatever that next level is, they're going to show me, all the things that I did in life and the things that I didn't do. And then from there, who knows what's going to happen after that. But going back a little bit, I'll go back to the story. But, I got to Japan because I wanted to I wanted to change my life. And I wanted to do something that was just really exciting, adventurous, and, without it including going to the bars and drinking all the time. So I realized, like, if I don't want to go back to that way of life, I need to move forward and build something different. So that's what I did. Getting here was, I've been here for a long time, but it was just, I think what's been most exciting with this journey is that it all began with making a decision that I was going to do something. And then I just lined up the action steps that would move me forward towards that goal. In other words, when I decided to move to Japan, I had a goal to do this thing. And then I had to go through a series of, steps to get here, getting a visa and, making contacts and all these things. But I think that if you, when you want to reinvent your life, you do have to have something, you have to have your North Star, right? So, I'd recommend and this doesn't have to be a huge, massive goal that is completely overwhelming. It can be, but I think you need to start with something that's just tangible to begin with. So start with something that you can get a small win. To give you an example, like when I started writing books again, when I wrote my first official book, it took me a few years to do that. And it was a big book. Like I just wrote like 200,000 words or something, but I had to break it down into smaller action steps. Like each chapter was a milestone. Each chapter was a mini goal. And that way I was able to just keep moving forward with it. So anyway, that was kind of a lot to throw out there, but I think the whole topic of reinventing your life really just comes down to knowing what you want. You don't have to know the outcome or what the end goal is, but you do have to want something that's going to motivate you to wake up every morning and take action towards this thing. And if you can wake up in the morning and do that hardest thing first, whatever it may be. Yes, that's a plug-in for one of my books, Do the Hard Things First. But really, if you can wake up in the morning and do just one hard thing before you go to your work, before you go to your job, maybe before your family wakes up, then do that thing first thing in the morning, whether it takes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or 1 hour, and just dedicate 1 hour of the day to your grand plan, whatever that may be. So.
Some people, the hard thing is waking up the kids in the morning because when they have school, they tend to not want to wake up. So when you were, when you decided to go off the drink, and just curious, because like with me, I mean, I've never got deep into it. I don't get drunk and stuff, but I think it's classed as like great drinking, and I'd have 2 or 3 beers or something like that. And then I kind of go, when I feel like I want a beer or whatever, I was like, okay, I can go off it for a month or even more. And what I found is I was like, the productivity just doubles and you're getting way more creative. And did you find that kicked in when you made the decision to give up drinking?
Yeah, I would say just because I have a very addictive personality, so it's really, I have a tendency to become addicted to everything. So what I found though is that whenever I stopped doing that thing, whether it was drinking or something else, or it could be, my addiction to chocolate, I mean, whatever it may be, when I took the attention away from that, you realize like you have a lot of energy actually, and I find this to be the case with, it's not just people who have addictions. I mean, we have a lot of energy to begin with, right? And sometimes we take that energy and we treat it very passively, and maybe, somebody might watch TV for 4 hours in a row, or something like that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I've had many days like that. But I realized like when I took that same energy and I applied it to something else, I got a lot done. So let's just speak about like productivity, for example. When I took that energy away from, the addiction, for example, I channeled it into something else. I had to, because if I didn't, I was going to go back to feeding into, it's going to take my energy and probably feed it back into the monster, into the beast, right? So, I felt like I had to get busy. I had to have something to strive for. I had to have goals. I had to have a mission, right? And that's probably what, for the most part, kept me going. That's how I was able to, travel around the world. So I was able to, live in Japan and build a thriving lifestyle. And, I think the library of books that I've written, I mean, they wouldn't have happened if I hadn't stopped, putting all my energy into that other stuff, right? So I realized like it was either one or the other, I mean, there was a time, like in different example, there was a time when I used to love video games, still do, but I mean, I'd sit in my room for hours just playing, doing PlayStation and playing Call of Duty. And I mean, that was great, but I realized at the time, like, the time that I was putting into that, if I put it into my writing, like what could happen, right? So I stopped playing the games, sold my PlayStation, and that time that I normally would have spent doing that, maybe it was like 2 hours a day, I put it into the book business. And then, a decade and a half later, I mean, I've got I think it's a thriving business. We haven't decided yet. It's still in motion, but it's certainly a lot further along than it would have been if I hadn't made those decisions. So I think that's maybe the point there, is that if you want to achieve something in your life, you will need time and you'll need resources, or you'll need to be resourceful. Right. You may not have any resources, but again, I think the biggest resource that a lot of people, myself included, like will waste is time. I mean, I started several little businesses when I didn't have any money at all, but I had the resourcefulness to start them. Right. And so that's the thing, is like there's a, like whatever it is that you want to do, there's a way to start this thing. And I think that's where everything has to begin, is you have to start whatever it is that you want to do. And I think when it came to just going back to the writing again, the hardest parts of that whole process really was just waking up every day and starting every day. Like to me, every day is a new beginning, right? So, like I treat every day like that. If I wake up, I'm like, okay, great, got one more day, so, and for the most part, I mean, I try to, I don't plan my day out as strategically as other people do. I think that's something that I'm just getting better at. But before I go to bed, I will write down 2 or 3 priority tasks that I want to, complete the next day. So anyway, going off topic a little bit, but I'll just circle back to your original question.
With like the goals, because I remember 20 odd years ago, 25 years ago in Ireland, I was in a group, and they used to have a thing called a morning group that we done, and I think it was called the Wheel of Life, and it was kind of just looking at the different things. I mean, your kind of work, your relationships, your finance, and all that kind of stuff. And it was very good because there was always something suffering, and it made you conscious of it. Because for me, it was like finance was either destroyed or it was doing brilliant, and then something else was suffering. And I think by being conscious of it, but if I look at kind of the other thing is, because I always write goals, what I want to plan for the year, and I tend to do it in whether it's the amount of books I'm reading and stuff like that. But I know that some people, they get overwhelmed with their list. And even, you mentioned 2 or 3. And sometimes people are writing down, 40 items. And there's not a hope in hell that you'll get through them. And then they're beating themselves up. And I think then procrastination kicks in as well, because you can't see an end. And it's like, how do people overcome? Because a load of people suffer from kind of that kind of system of doing things.
Yeah, that's a great question, which is interesting because the timing couldn't be better. I'm actually in the middle of that right now. And in fact, I've probably been in the middle of it for a very long time, where I have goals, but I also have like so many moving parts in my life and my business, where I just lose track of it. Like I really do. Even with my partner working with me and having an assistant on board who's trying to manage my schedule and email and those things. It's just, and I realized, so here's something that I've been working on. And I think this is a really good thing I like to share this with people actually, is, I had to get clear on not just what my goals were, because goals are great. I mean, goals are just really, I think the illusion is that we're going to achieve this goal, we're going to get this thing done or built or published or whatever it may be, and then, that's going to be it. But the truth is like we get a goal done, then we're on to the next thing, which is fine. That's progress, right? But I've had like so many different projects. I'm multitasking all the time, which I don't recommend. I have multiple tabs open on my computer, which I don't recommend that either. And I have files all over the place. And some of them are organized and most of them are just really scattered because they just come in so quickly. I download them from various sources, outsourcers that work that I'm outsourcing to people. They're sending me the files back and I'm just, I'm in such a hurry to just get everything, into, my desktop or Google Drive or something, that they just get thrown all over the place. So my point though is that after doing this for so long, you just lose track of stuff, and then you start spending money on things that you don't need. And then you start buying software and then, you start spending more money. So here's what I did. I went through and I just made a list. And this is I came across an influencer that I follow, and he recommended this strategy, and I think it was great. Just make a list of your projects. Like go through and make a list of all the projects. And this sounds very obvious. So like a lot of people would be listening going, oh yeah, well that's, I already know about that. But I knew about doing that, but I wasn't actually doing it, because every day it just felt like a race, and it still does. It feels like a race to the end, and there is no end, right? To your point, it's like all these things we need, I need to do. And I keep throwing more plates in the air and try to see how many can I just juggle another one, just one more. So I went through, and actually it's right over here in my desk, but I made a list of the projects, right? And so I'll give you an example, like, building out the Shopify store. I've got 4 book projects underway. Each one of those in and of itself is a project, and, and an email marketing campaigns. And I mean, you name it. There are about 18 projects, right? So I looked at the projects and I prioritized them, like what are the projects that, first of all, how I prioritize them from a business perspective is really like, which ones are bringing in revenue, or profit. Those are important because those need to be built first. And some of the other projects were just like projects that I could do later, but they were not, they were not priorities, but they were important. So, so I just went through and I would just number these or give them a score actually, from 1 to 10. So, anything that was like an 8, 9, or 10 was a priority. And then I had the zeros and the ones, which, some of these projects I could just cut away. But that was the thing, is like getting clarity is the key, which when you're clear on, what it is you're trying to do with your life, with your business, whatever it may be, then once you have that clarity, then you can make better decisions as to what the action steps are to take, right? So, and that's really like when it comes out of time management, I find that time management is really self-management, because time management was never my strength, but I realized like it was actually self-management was not my strength. And I had to get better at managing myself. And if I can't manage myself, then I need to hire somebody who can help me to manage me, because that's really what I needed, So, yeah, I guess where this is all going is, just taking time to be really clear on, what have you got? What do you really need? And then anything that's, doesn't fall within your 80-20, if we can go back to the Pareto principle, like the 80-20, just cut that stuff away. And then it's hard to do that. It's hard to let go of stuff. We tend to want to hold on to things, right? But a lot of the things that I'm holding on to, I don't need a lot of it. I just think I do. And I've given it importance because I created it. So it has some kind of importance. So, anyway, I'm not a productivity guru or anything like that, but I just, going through this process, I realized like throwing more plates in the air isn't really, that's just adding a little bit of stress, but the overwhelm. And to your point, when you get really overwhelmed, then yes, you procrastinate, but you also forget things that are really important. Like, it could be an important email that you have to get back to somebody about. And, I get emails from publishers and other people that I just like, it starts to, fall to the wayside because, I'm so busy doing these other things. So anyway, that's just the thing is, getting really clear on what the projects are, making a list of action steps, that I can follow through to, complete some of these projects. I also would identify, what are the goals that I can get done within the next few days or the next week, so I can just get it off the list, and making this a priority, not to add anything more to the list, no more goals for now, no more projects, because, the bucket's full and it's overflowing. So we need to dump some water out to make some space, right? And that was really hard, because I love just every day I love coming up with a new project. Oh, that's a great idea. I'm going to start that right now. And I'll literally start a new project and then I've got another one, so, and then I'll go and, spend more money and outsource something to somebody. And then it just like, it starts more of the, we just start, adding more fuel to the fire, so to speak.
So kind of going a little layer deeper on that one. Is it something that is physically written? Is it an Excel or Word document? And how do you actually, because I've played with a load of different things like that, because I've got a lot of projects, and not just the podcast, I've got a lot of different businesses and everything. And it's like, sometimes I try to put everything on the pages, and then it's like, there's just too much there. And then it's like, okay, I'll spend a certain amount of time on this project, and then I'll do that. And I'm just wondering what way it is for you.
Yeah. I certainly can get lost in the weeds when it comes to making lists. I have lists everywhere. Now, maybe this is an ADHD problem, because I do have ADHD, so that might be part of it. But I always do start so I actually have the yellow legal pads. I have lots of those, and that's actually where I will start the list, right? Now, what I find with that is that, because I'm always making these lists and making notes and stuff like that, is that list tomorrow may end up getting buried behind all the other notes that I'm taking, right? So, and having an Excel sheet is actually a really good idea. Now, some people will use some apps like like Monday.com or Trello actually is a really good one. Now, the problem with that is that there's a little bit of a learning curve. And although I've tried to use those apps, I can't say that they're really successful for me, but it works when I have somebody else helping me with it, right? It's not a tech thing. It's just that, that's another software I have to go in and then tracking it. And
they're good when you have a team the team know what they're doing. But I'm the same. For myself, I've tried it Monday. I've tried Trello, and it's like, nah, it's not. It doesn't work for me personally.
Yeah. Yeah, I just found like with all the software that I'm already using, it's just another thing I have to open up on my computer, and I'm trying to reduce that. So what I found actually is just having a journal like this. I get these journals online. This journal is actually from Impact Theory, just with Tom Bilyeu's site, and they're like $20 each. Great little journals. I'm sure you can pick them up on Amazon. There's other journals.
What's the difference between their journal and just like a normal kind of notepad?
It's just it's got a little snap on the cover there like that, and so it's pretty good quality, I think. But to be honest, you can probably go to your local bookstore and just pick up any kind of
so it doesn't in fancy paper. There's nothing special inside it. There's no little kind of checklists or things. Okay.
No. So yeah, but I just mentioned it because that's what I'm using. But you can use anything you want to. But the thing is, I have a journal that is dedicated to the projects, and so and I have another journal that's dedicated to let's say, for example, like I'm learning a lot about finance and things like that. So I'll have a journal for that. So I like to divide my journals up, and I may have 5 to 10 of them. But at least whenever I want to focus on this one thing, I can go to that journal and open up. So I have one for those projects. Now I don't have a journal for each project in and of itself, because again, that's a lot of a lot of books. But the checklists are, like I might start doing something on a checklist, but again, I want to have something that's a little more solid in my hand, not a piece of software, not a loose yellow pad, but just having the journal with a nice, preferably, I mean, it doesn't have to have a hard cover, but mine do. Because it just feels like something solid. And I don't actually have it written on this journal, but I'll have like projects written on here, just white labeled, boom, put it onto this here, and I'm organized. So I just have to do it that way, because otherwise, what happens is I have a bunch of papers and lists and journals, and I talk to other entrepreneurs, and this actually happens to them all the time, is because we're always coming up with ideas, and then we're trying to organize stuff, and that's really hard to do when you're trying to create things and organize things and track things all at the same time. It can get really chaotic, and you can certainly lose your way. So again, we're back in the dark room again, where you're looking for the light switch, and it's hard to find. So
I was running a load of kind of real estate stuff and everything, and that's the way I go. I get into, if you look at my desk now, you kind of cringe, because it's like it's a paper and everything. But I used to have somebody, they were extremely well organized for filing and everything, and they used to kind of keep my house clean, and then when I look for something, within seconds they could find it. And that's an ideal scenario for me, that you have somebody that kind of knows, because I don't know, is it the same with you, but I just know for me, I get into a stage and I go, I need to sort this out. And as soon as I have my decks cleared, I'm way more creative, I'm way more productive, and shame on me for not having a system to keep doing that. But that's just the way I go. I go from one extreme to the other.
Yeah. It's I have also up on my wall here, I have sticky notes. So my sticky note system, I tend to double up on things. So let's just say I have my goals and my projects in my journal, and then I'll also have it up on my wall in sticky note form. So at the top, it'll say projects or goals, and then underneath that, it'll have all the, I'll have like a sticky note for, every goal or project. And if you really want to break it down, I'll have the goal at the top with a sticky note, and underneath it, I'll have all the action steps I need to take to achieve that goal. So I do find that's actually easy to track because it's visible. I like to have things, I think as a visual learner or a tracker, I like to have things in my space that I can see, which is why I'm not a strong proponent of having, I have dozens of Excel sheets, and I know where they are, but I get in there and I just get, that's just for keeping information and data probably, but I don't know, not, doesn't really work for me when it comes to tracking things, because I would just have to keep that as an open tab on my computer all the time. Otherwise I'd forget it's there. So,
and because you're achieving a lot of different things with all the books and all, do you reward yourself? Do you have kind of, when you hit certain milestones, that you give yourself kind of credit and you do something for yourself? Or do you just keep chugging through and just go next task, next?
No, it's a good point. I think I do reward myself. I don't know if it's an intentional thing, but I do take time out. Give it like last, I think it was maybe Friday. I had a pretty good productive morning. And Friday afternoon, I just said, well, I could sit here at my computer and do some more work, or I could go to the movies. And that's what I did. Is I went to the IMAX theater, watched a 3-hour movie, and ate a bunch of popcorn. So to me, that was a reward. Sometimes I'll go to the local bathhouse or something, or the sauna. Going to the gym is a reward for me, but I think I do that a few times a week anyway. So it's actually good to, it's a reward, but it's actually just good to check out at least I would say, well, actually, to be honest, if you can do this, do something for yourself once a day. And for me, like, I don't even call it a reward. It's like, I've got to, get away from my desk, get away from the computer this afternoon. So I would just take 2 hours out to go do that thing, whatever it is I want to do. Maybe sometimes it's just going to Starbucks and, having the Frappuccino or something like that. So. Yeah. But we do need that for sure. We have to unplug. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I used to travel a lot before. I still love seeing different countries, but then, with the craziness that happened in the last few years, and I just kind of lost track of it. And then I decided, okay, I'm putting 10% of my income to be going on holidays with my son. And just, so then, I'm aiming to every 3 months to go somewhere decent. And by being conscious of it, and no matter what comes in, even if it's a $50 affiliate link or something like that, I still, I break it down into the different ways that I'm doing it. So then it's like, you're rewarding yourself kind of later as well. Whereas a lot of times people, they just kind of, even with the business, they just keep pumping it in and they keep building. And then eventually it's like, the family suffers or something because they put, they're not doing the wheel as we discussed earlier. Like, that they're putting too much energy with the hope of building something to get the big house so that everybody be happy when we get the big house or the big car. And it doesn't work that way. And I think it's like the steps, we have to be rewarding ourselves on a continuous basis. And as you said, daily.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because if you wait until you achieve that big goal and then decide to reward yourself, I mean, that's one way to do it. But I think I'm a big believer in just rewarding yourself along the way, because once you do get that, you achieved your thing, you've got your house or whatever it may be, it's like, well, you're gonna be chasing something else probably, So, because I think I don't know, like let's just say like financial gain, for example, again, maybe you've saved up to buy a car or whatever it may be, and that's just that might just be the result of all your hard work, I think, and it's just like, in a way, that's maybe how you can reward yourself is like, you've got a nicer car, you've got a nicer house, or I don't know, you bought a new pet, whatever it might be, right? But it's not like everything ends there. It's like, okay, well, I got that thing I wanted, but because I think we're purpose-driven creatures, like we want to get to that next level, and you don't have to have motivation for that. It's just, I think it's built into us. Sure, some people have more drive than others, but I think a lot of that just comes down to having something that you're feeling really, I don't want to use the word passionate about, I don't like to use that for this, but it's like something's driving you forward, and whatever that is, like the reward for me is just like, it's in the drive. Like it's, for me, like when I'm feeling, like I think in the flow, and I'm chasing after the dream, like to me, like that, I don't know, that is the mission, like that just I have a lot of, I don't want to use the word passion about it, like, but like when I'm chasing after the dream, I just feel obsessed about it. Like I don't even want to get it because I'm like, what if I get it? And then I realize like, what if I didn't want it in the first place, but the truth is, like, we're going to get that thing and then we're going to want something more. So there's nothing wrong with that. And also, it's not just, for me, it's not just wanting something for myself. It's like, I want to get this thing because I can, let's just use money as an example. If I earn $5 million next year, now I've got a lot more money. And the question is like, okay, well, I'm not just going to put it in the bank and have it sit there, because I believe that money is like energy in motion. Right? It's just in the form of, well, it could be in the form of currency or paper or gold, whatever it might be. But it's just another form of energy. So I want to take that money and put it out into the world to create something more, to generate something more, to, contribute to other people's lives, to maybe build a better society, whatever it may be. Because I think that that's really I think that's the reason we're here, really, is to, we're working hard, not for ourselves, but for our families, our community. And I like to think on a bigger scale, the world itself. So anyway, that might have been a lot to chew on.
You touched on doing the hard thing first. And I think a lot of people are guilty of, they have their list and they're chugging through the day and they feel like, oh, I got a lot done, but they didn't really get the right things done. And I suppose that's kind of touching into the mindset to make sure it's really important. Or like for me, it's always a kind of, I used to put a dollar sign next to stuff, like what's actually going to be making me money and what's, and still I get guilty of it. Sometimes I just do the things that I enjoy more, even though I know I need to get these done. But what's the best kind of, like, what's your tips on that for making sure you do the hard things?
Yeah. So again, it comes back to the 80-20 principle, which it's really hard though. Like I find that the hardest thing for me to actually do is to work on the 20% that's going to deliver 80% of the results, because when you're in the middle of it, you like, again, it comes back to, you feel like everything's important. And here's the thing, like you could be working on your main thing. So for me, course development is one of the things that is one of my main priorities. The reason is because you can sell a course, you can make more profit, and also it's a great way for people to, bring people into your funnel as well. People love courses. I think they like books too, but courses is just something that's like a deeper level of learning. But here's the thing: I start to work on this thing, and then all these little, the other stuff starts to creep into my day, like those emails that are pinging, and just the little pebbles, we call them, right? They get in the way. And some people call them distractions. I hear people say that all the time. Oh, I got distracted doing, but I don't think that we get distracted. I think we just decide to go and do something else that's not our main focus, But that's the thing, is like, okay, I mean, you have to eliminate everything that's getting in the way of your number one driver. So let's just say it is that hard thing that you're working on. Our tendency is to take the path of least resistance, right? So this thing that you're working on, probably going to be hard, but there's going to be a big reward at the end of it. The reward for me is just being able to finish it. Like, that's just going to feel great. But you are going to be challenged along the way to deviate off. You're going to go off the path, and I think that, when that happens, you need to take some space. You need to give yourself some space, right? So this is really, for me, like, this is where we'll call it meditation or deep thinking comes into place. Like, I will take time away from my work to sit down for 10, 15, 20 minutes and just start to walk through the process in my mind. I will actually visualize myself working on this hard thing. And then I've got a much better mindset to go back into it and start working towards it. That's really where a lot of the work is. It's not the work that you're doing when you're actually working. I find that it's, preparing yourself for the work, because you do have to, for me, like, again, like, in my mind, if we can use creative visualization as a tool, and athletes do this all the time with sports, and, business people do it all the time to get, assigned deals and things like that. It's like, they'll walk through the process of actually doing that thing. And that's just been a great way for me to overcome procrastination. Because again, procrastination always shows up when I'm feeling, when I get distracted, and I get distracted because I'm not clear on what I should be working on, or I'm allowing myself to just wander off and start, suddenly I find myself in my inbox answering a bunch of emails when, I told myself, no, I was only going to do this once a day. And so far I've done it 4 times a day. So you got to catch yourself too, and you got to be really honest with yourself. Like, so here's the thing, like, again, going back to, pen and paper, making a list of what your 80-20 is. So having I made a list of all the things that I do in the run of a day, long list, 30, 40 things on there. And then I just looked at all the things that I could eliminate. So what can I eliminate? What can I simplify? What can I automate? And then what can I delegate? Now, delegating things, although that's my favorite route to take, may not always be the case, because you have to pay people to, when you delegate something, you got to be paying somebody for something. So you can't delegate everything. So I had to look at the list and think, okay, what are the most important things on the list that only I can do, or only I should be doing? And there are like 1 or 2 things on the list. And these are things, by the way, that not only should I be doing them, but I enjoy doing them, which means it's my strength, right? So again, for me, it's creating videos, course creation, things that are actually the building blocks of my business. And all this other stuff that I had was like, probably about half of it could be eliminated. I just wasn't eliminating it because I was just keeping everything in the bucket, right? And I think that's what happens to a lot of people is they try to keep everything in the bucket, try to keep it from overflowing by just doing a bunch of random tasks, which is multitasking, or task jumping, or whatever you want to call it. It's all the same thing. And that's just a good way to burn out, right? So
And I think
Yeah,
the thing
but
is, when you do the bigger ones, they in turn give you a bigger revenue, which you can then outsource some of it because you've the money to pay for somebody to do the tasks that you don't enjoy.
that's the idea. Exactly. Yeah. Because, yeah, sure. If you bring in more money, then you can hire people, or you can hire, or here's the thing too, like, if you can swing it, you can hire the person first. They'll help you to buy back your time, right? Because now they're working on the things and helping you to eliminate a lot of these tasks that you'd normally be doing. Yeah. And then you can spend more time doing your things. So, again, comes down to your situation, whether or not, nowadays, it's so easy to hire people on, sure, there's Upwork and there's Fiverr. Those are probably the two main sites that I use. And I do have a few people that I just, like work with consistently for my websites. And of course, for books, I have like a dozen people or more, I think, that I just, outsource like a lot of work to, like almost on a daily basis. So, now what happens with that is that, unless I have somebody in the middle who's actually coordinating everything with everybody, I tend to be the one who's doing that, which I'm currently in that situation. And so my goal is to remove myself from that situation by bringing someone in who can act as like an executive assistant role or a book production specialist. So we're currently hiring for, one of those roles. And, again, just the goal is to bring someone in who can handle all these things I think buying back your time is one of the greatest things you could do. I'm quoting Dan Martell's book, Buy Back Your Time, amazing book. I'm going through it for like the third or fourth time, but, from a productivity perspective, not just productivity it's just a great business book, because, I love talking about business. I love building business. It's a lot of struggle, but then again, I don't know. So it's waking up every day and going to a job. So.
Like outsourcing. I've done that a lot of times, but the thing is, so I think you hiring like an assistant that deals with all that, because what happens is that at the start, they're all brilliant, but unless you're keeping your finger on the pulse, they back off because they're doing 10 other projects and it's who shouts the loudest, which is a shame because you just want them to do exactly what you want. But so people kind of forget that as well. Sometimes you get someone who appears brilliant and in month 2, month 3, it's like, hey, why isn't this working out the way it did at the start? And then you have to be checking everything and going, and things like that suck the life out of you. So having somebody that does that for you frees up more of your time. So I get that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I've had, several of those in the past, and that's a good point. I think too, just being clear on why you're hiring. If you hire someone to create I don't know, like a cover for your podcast show or graphics or something, it's very clear what the project is. But, sometimes I've hired people and I wasn't really clear what I wanted them to do. So I just gave them a bunch of random tasks. And of course, there wasn't any clarity as to what their position was. So of course things didn't work out very well, but, it's no fault of my own. So just being very clear on what why you're hiring someone, what it is, like what I guess the deliverables will be, in other words, like what are they going to be delivering on at the end of the week? Because ideally, if you hire somebody, like they're going to be helping you to build your business, and again, buying back your time and adding to your profit margins.
Just finally, you mentioned about the courses. So a lot of people create courses, but then they hear the crickets. And it's like the marketing side of getting people to buy your course. So, like there's affiliates and even sometimes people are creating the courses in different languages. What advice could you give people on how to get leads for their courses?
Yeah, so you need traffic, right? It always comes down to that. And that is, both the solution and the challenge. So, give an example. So like I post, I do a lot of posts to LinkedIn, social media. Social media is certainly like a lot of traffic out there, and you have to post a lot and you have to post very relevant and valuable content. Now, that's just one way, but I would definitely recommend it as, a way for you to like start, posting content, whether it doesn't matter if it's to Twitter or if it's to LinkedIn or if it's to Instagram or all of them, but you do have to be posting regularly. And when I say regularly too, probably like not once a week. I think you have to be very intentional with how you're marketing your product. Facebook ads is something that, we use a lot. And again, that drives a lot of that, potentially can drive a lot of traffic. Yes, you will spend money, but that's the way it is. Paid ads is always going to be costing you some money, especially in the beginning until you figure out who your audience is, because you need traffic to convert traffic into buyers. And then eventually, like people who buy your products, if they like them, they're going to be telling other people about it. So now you've got word of mouth marketing, which again is, nothing like happy customers to spread the word, right? Now, because I put a lot of books out there as well, and I've got to go back through a lot of my books actually and put in plugins, but I'll be putting in, the like QR codes and embedding hyperlinks into the ebooks and all those things. So I look at the books themselves are actually acting as funnels to, again, capture people's emails and bring people into the funnel to, give them access to the courses and things like that. So.
Brilliant. Listen, Scott, once again, thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. You might let people know where they can find you.
Absolutely. So yeah, they can go to scottallanpublishing.com or scottallanbooks.com. We have the Shopify store set up there. And of course, they can go to probably Amazon and you just plug in Scott Allan Books. You'll find the book platforms there. And go to Google, you plug in my name, you'll probably find various podcast interviews. And again, you'll probably find more books. Depending on what language or what country you're in, you may find a book that's in your language. Who knows? I think, do the hard things first is, I think it's in 16, 17 languages. Our goal this year is to have it in probably 10 more. So we're adding more to it. It's, if you're in Vietnam, it's coming out in Vietnamese this month, I think, actually. Yeah, the publisher just got back to us. So we just keep, it's just a great way to there's billions of people out there. So I just want to get it into as many languages, into as many bookstores as possible.
I'll make sure I put all the links both on the video. Thank you very much, Scott.
Been great. Thank you.
Yes. So that's all for the Speaking Podcast. Be sure to comment on what we discussed. Let us know what you think. You'll find all our episodes on speakingpodcast.com. Until next week, take care. So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. As mentioned at the start, you'll find my 6 podcasts on bio.link/podcaster. And also, if you'd like to start a podcast or do a podcasting tour, you'll find the information on that or on the QR code that's there. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating, and share with your friends because it really helps. Until next week, take care.